Hindsight, as they say, is always 20/20. I think this applies especially in Wreckfest. Looking from your perspective, races in Wreckfest may seem incredibly simple and easy, but what separates finishing like this and finishing like this is the ability you have to juggle hundreds of pieces of seemingly unimportant information in order to come out on top. When you really pay attention to every corner you do and how you're really driving, it can become incredibly complex. Adding another 1, 2 or 5 players to the equation makes it even more complicated. So how do players actually win? Well, it's simple, one step at a time. What separates players who wreck and who win is your ability to break down hundreds of pieces of information and come up with a single formulated solution to get you ahead and leave the other races in your dust. Understanding how I make these decisions may help you become a better and generally more well-rounded player, ideally making races better for everyone. The best players intuitively take advantage of tiny pieces of information, others' lines, momentum, and split-second analysis of seemingly irrelevant things, all of which will allow you to get the edge. You're about to watch me using the Super Venom, undeniably my favourite car in the game, forcing more agile cars to take wider and generally straighter lines, and better accelerating cars to fight me in the corners. Let's break down the choices I make with everything I know at that point in time, and how it makes me come out on top. This is the anatomy of Wreckfest. Before we start, I want to thank Ducci for some of the footage I use here. I think it's made this a much better video. Thanks. I also want to thank Beta for going through 130 songs, fucking god, to find the music, because Shazam couldn't identify it. Let's actually get started now. Something I should have pointed out before I started doing this commentary was that I'm recording and speaking after a couple of days, and I've been playing, obviously, so I can't actually remember what happened. I'm just watching the race back, pausing at the set pause times that I've made on the day that I recorded the race, and I am watching it back, pausing it at those times and saying what I know about the race that's happened. Coming into this first corner, I notice Symphota here. That's not how you pronounce his name. He sucks. So I'm looking to distance myself from him as quickly as possible. I know this because he's massively oversteered the corner coming into here. We're going to go up on this bank here, following roughly the same route that Dooch and I think that's Irish Marmite as well have taken, and hopefully we're going to get away from the majority of the race. Minxie here on our left is in quite a bad position to get around the corner. We're going to take advantage of this by going inside of him and basically riding him around the corner. This will get us around a bit quicker and it will ensure that he stays behind me. A car like he's driving, the TriStar, is actually pretty fast, but it's only quick at cornering, whereas my car is far better accelerating and it doesn't corner particularly well. So there may be a chance that he'll keep up with me in this corner, and I'm looking to minimise that as much as possible. Coming up to this corner here, we have turned Kenneth to the right. He's not been spun out by it, so we haven't got any issues. Dooch is going pretty quick. I'm going to force a fight with him in the corners. My car turns better than his, but his accelerates possibly as fast, if not a little bit slower. So we're looking to get past him as soon as possible. We're coming up to Irish now. Me and Dooch are both coming up on his left and right hand side respectively. This is going to do a couple of things, mainly being stress him out. The idea is that if we both come up on his left and right, he may make a mistake, he may mess up his entry into the next corner, he may break early to get us out of the way because we were coming up behind him very quickly. We'll see what happens, I don't know yet. Also, going wider when you're coming out onto the straight gives us a little bit more time to accelerate and build up some speed. We didn't actually get past Irish. Instead, he turned a little bit later and forced us to make the turn far wider than we usually would. This tells me a couple of things. One, that he's a good player, and two, that we need to catch back up to him because we're going to be going much slower now. Well, we didn't do very good on that corner there, did we now? We're going to spend a little bit of time catching up. Shouldn't take too long. Super Phantom's not a slow car. Coming off the jump, we have the inside line. Irish here is very wide and his car turns a little worse than mine, so we're going to sneak in between him and the bank on my right hand side. Hopefully we'll be in third after this. Okay then, so we have Irish on our inside here. I feel like he's going to try the same as he did last time on this corner where he forced me wide. I'm going to make sure he doesn't do that by handbrake turning almost sideways, forcing him to slow down. Ducci begins to almost spin the person in first here. Not wanting anyone to get particularly ahead because it would be easy for me to go wider here and take first. Irish could also pop through the inside of both of them and take first. Wanting to keep this fight as close as possible to take as bigger advantage of it as possible, I'm going to try and push Ducci to see if I can get a bit of a better line. Straighten NDO up and keep the fight going for as long as possible. Watch here how Ducci's car begins to wildly oversteer as his rear wheels take off from the ground. This is some incredibly good driving on his part. Most players here would spin. He doesn't play with stability control, I don't think, judging by the way his car's handling, and it's very well handled by him. We have a little bit of room now. We are the fastest accelerating car here, and I've probably got the highest top speed, not that I'll be reaching it in this straight. We're going to take advantage of our better acceleration as best as possible. I'm going to short shift when I reach the tarmac and try and get ahead as fast as I can. Hopefully putting a bit of distance between Irish, Dooch and me. Coming up to the first corner on our fourth lap, we braked way early and turned in at roughly the right angle, but again we braked way early again, so it didn't make much of a difference. We lost all the ground we gained. I took a look behind me further back on the straight. I saw two cars, a Road Slayer and a car that looked maybe like a Boomer or a TriStar. I could identify it by the colour. They're typically the colours that Helterkrieger paints his car in, and he is an incredibly quick driver. This is why I messed up this corner and trying to get away from him as quickly as possible. I know he's going to make his way through the pack very quickly. Coming on to the next corner, the final corner for this lap, I'm going to switch us back to Dooch's footage here. I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. One, how much attention he pays to him. Clearly he knows that he's a fast driver too. Also watch how he deliberately stays out of view from Dooch for as long as possible until he has his opportunity to pass, where he cuts through really quickly. This is typically how he drives, because he knows that if he gets close to people, they can defend against him far more effectively. He's a very passive driver, and in fact he complained about it just yesterday, at time of recording. Unfortunately, there are some copyright issues with the music that Dooch has playing in his next, in the next section of clip that I'm going to play. So you're not going to have any audio for it aside from, you know, the wonderful music that you hear at the moment. You can see his RPM by the bottom right corner. You can tell when he's braking because he'll leave lines in the dirt, and you'll see him obviously slowing down. Sorry. Coming up to this next corner, I know that Helterkrieg is going to be right behind me in a couple of seconds, so I have to get ahead of Indio immediately. What we're going to do is tail him as closely as possible, and in theory what will happen is when we both leave the jump, he will land first, obviously because he's gone off the jump first. I will land just behind him, hopefully with the front of my car on the rear of his car, which will have the effect of ramming him forwards, giving him a boost of speed, allowing me to cut inside and get an overtake. Well, Helterkrieger is already behind me, and we have already left Indio behind. We're gonna just start booking it as quick as possible. I know how Helterkrieger drives, and I know that he'll overtake me in a corner, probably the next 2 corners ahead, so I'm going to look to make my car as fast as possible through here, taking advantage of his more agile car, and then I'm going to look to block the racing line as best I can in the next corner. Hopefully we will block him off from overtaking. Again, his car is more agile than mine, so he will have an opportunity to change direction and get past me. I just have to hope that when he does that, he'll be within my view. If I look back at him, I may mess up my line, so I need to focus on going in the right direction. So, Helterkrieger behind me is a fairly big issue. He is right on me here. I think his intention is to cut inside to get an overtake in. This isn't going to work because, as you can see, he won't have the room. Dribbo is going to be an even bigger problem than Helterkrieger though. His line is going to be something like this, which actually for that car in his current position, yeah, it's a perfectly good line. My line's going to be something like this. You can see what the issue is. We're going to have a little bit of a tap. This is going to be Krieger's opportunity to overtake, of course. If he does take it, I'm going to have to do everything I can to block him. It would be very easy to spin me out in this scenario, so the only way I can do it is hogging the racing line and slowly edging over to whichever side he tries to overtake me on, hoping that in doing this I'll make him turn a lot more than I do and lose a bit of speed. Sure enough, Krieger's better turning car managed to cut the corner far tighter than I could. If I'd have turned any steeper, obviously, I would have lost a lot of speed and he would pass me anyway, so I had to do what I did. Coming up into the first corner, Krieger waits until I begin turning to turn. What this does is allow him a little bit of an opportunity to, well, keep the inside line as well, obviously, and he's gonna keep me off of his corners by doing this. It'll force me wider, meaning that I have to work harder to keep up with him, and of course he holds more speed in the corners than my car does. He holds more speed in the corners than I do in general. I'm quite a tail-happy driver compared to him, so it's going to become a bit of a game of chase. My best hope now is for another backmarker to arrive who will block him. What a stroke of luck, a mud digger. Brilliant. Need I say any more if you're a Wreckfest player? Bollocks. Who would have known? The mud digger was kind. Well, that was a pretty decent race, to be fair. I'm going to play the race back so that you can see everything in real time with all my decisions in one smooth flow, so you get an idea for the momentum of the race. This is a startup YouTube channel, as you can probably tell. If you enjoy this kind of content, please let me know in the comments. Also let me know what you'd like me to do next. I've been thinking about doing some kind of Wreckfest science, something along the lines of the different combinations of tuning and difficulty settings and their effects on the car. I would put an overlay on so you can see how I'm steering as well, and you'd be able to note how my controller is pure garbage. It would be good to hear your opinions. Thank you for watching.
when you really pay attention to every corner you do and how you're really driving it, it can become incredibly complex. Adding another 1, 2 or 5 players to the equation makes it even more complicated. So how do players actually win? Well, it's simple, one step at a time. What separates players who wreck from players who win is my sheer undeniable inability to competently speak English, the language that I speak 99% of the time. And it's frankly incredible, my inability to, read a script.